The soldier above all others prays for peace, for it is the soldier who must suffer and bear the deepest wounds and scars of war.
The armed invasion of the Republic of Korea continues. The Republic of Korea has appealed to the United Nations for protection. I am proud to report that the United States is prepared to furnish assistance to the Republic of Korea.
We lived out in the country on a farm, and there were 7 kids in our family, 5 boys and 2 girls. It was so different when we were growing up during the World War II. Well, we had a lot of rations, sugar, gas. Back then, we were like just coming out of the Depression, and it was tough. It was tough living. But everybody went to work. We had to walk to school almost 6 miles. So it was really tough growing up during World War II. I had 2 brothers that went to World War II, and we went to the Harlem High School up there, the old three-story building, and I really didn't like school. School wasn't my favorite subject, and in fact, I quit when I was in 11th grade and went to work. I went down and enlisted in the Marine Corps. That's what I did. I went down there, and my brother we had 1 brother in the Navy and 2 in the Army, and I guess I didn't want to be like them. I wanted to go in the Marines, so. I always liked any story you'd see on TV. So I always liked them, and it worked out good. It was good for me. It was a different world for us. Boot camp was, you did a lot of marching. All you did is march as a platoon. If you went to eat or any place you went, every place we went, we marched. You went there was 75 in the platoon, and you just did everything as a unit. You washed your clothes, and I won't swear like they swore at me, but it was, you knew you were in a different environment, and because they yelled and screamed at you. I knew right away I was in a different world.
As U.S. and UN forces begin their victorious campaign of liberating South Korea, General Douglas MacArthur sees that they can continue forward and push into North Korea, reunifying the peninsula by force, and still be home by Christmas. As joint U.S. forces advance nearer to the Chinese border, China warns the Allied force not to advance any further. Allied command, not seeing China as a threat, presses on. In October of 1950, Chinese forces began moving into North Korea, helping their communist ally to the south. By November, around 300,000 Chinese forces are in North Korea and begin offensive operations. On the 6th of November, Chinese forces break off their attacks, drawing UN forces northward into the Chosin Reservoir. The 24th of November began a 17-day encirclement of the U.S. 10th Corps at the Chosin Reservoir, where they had advanced into the Chinese trap.
I wasn't there one day, and that's what you call a chosen frozen, which was the most vicious thing that I got into the war. I wasn't there for that. I was.
As Hungnam was being evacuated, UN forces elsewhere were being pushed back by the communist forces. By January 4th, Seoul falls once again into North Korean hands.
Seoul, which was a town pretty beat up, when the North Koreans took it, they beat that town up. They killed most of the men. Kids were sitting in the streets crying.
Then, on the 12th, UN forces halt the enemy advance and begin their pushback up to the 38th. Bloody fighting ensues as the communist forces try to continue their push into South Korea, only to be stopped and contained by the UN forces. As February comes to a close, U.S. forces launch an offensive to retake Seoul and drive the communist forces back over the 38th. On March 14th, Seoul is liberated by U.S. forces and won't change hands again for the rest of the war. The communist forces launched their first spring offensive on April 22nd, but were stopped just north of Seoul. The UN's fall offensive in September had various victories along with the first helicopter combat deployment and the first frontline relief by helicopter.
I got there right as they were going back up over the 38th. We landed at Busan, and then we replacement draft. I got sent up north. They loaded us in trucks, and we went up north, and we made our replacement in the 7th Marine 2nd Battalion. It took us a long time to get up there. It was dark when we got there, and now I got assigned to the mortar section of, which is 3 guns, and a gunner, and a loader. And that's what I got assigned to. I never had any training on mortars, but they put me there. And,
November 27th marks the end of the UN offensive, and the war grinds into a halt as winter sweeps across the peninsula.
no buildings or nothing. You slept out. It was in the wintertime, and you slept outside on an air mattress. And, so it was pretty tough when you were over there in the winter. A lot of frostbite. I was lucky I never got frostbite because I'd put one pair of socks in there and tuck them in there so they'd stay warm, and then when I'd take them off. But I never got frostbite, no. And there's a lot of them that didn't get frostbite, but there's a lot of them that did too. But, they took us up to the front lines. We were assigned to protect the people that were firing a 16-inch gun off of the ocean on there. We were there to protect the forward observers. And when they got out, then we went to the West Coast, the Kimpel Airfield, and the Army had lost Kimpel Airfield, and then we took it back from the North Koreans. Well, the average day was when we were pushing and moving, we were just on the move. It was kind of a day, but we had a lot of casualties when we were on the move. And if you weren't moving, you'd be cleaning your weapons and make sure you got all the ammo you need and stuff. You was always doing something. There was never no time off. So we were busy all the time. We never had no leave or no nothing. But we were only there a year, so you know that went fast. We went to what they called the 38th parallel. And then they had a neutral zone. We were on each side of the neutral zone, guarding the neutral zone. That was our responsibility. And then they had outposts. And the outposts were named Vegas, Reno, and Nevada. That was the outpost. They had outposts, a lot of casualties all the time. The 76, they was shooting that all the time at us. But when the people were doing the peace talk, we would, if anything broke down, we had to go in and get them. But that never happened. We didn't have to go in. My role was I had 3 mortar guns, and I had 5 people on each gun. Who had the target guy, the guy that shot it, the guy that loaded it, and the ammo carriers that carried the ammo. My role was make sure they're all going and all. It was tough for me because I never had anything to do with the mortars when I was stateside, but then I had mortar section. I made corporal there, and I went on up to sergeant and then staff sergeant. And, if they made me in charge, I owed that I got to keep them people as good, as well trained, and as good as they could, and for Christ's sakes, keep them alive. That was what you had to do. That's what you do with the training. You keep them trained. Don't let them mind wander when you're not shooting. You're training them and make sure they know what to do. So you never quit. You keep doing the same thing over and over and over. That's what you got to do to keep them trained. There are a lot of good kids that come into service and they do a good job. They were just about like me. They were a lot of farm kids. Indiana. Most of my kids that were in my platoon or my mortar, they were from Indiana and Wisconsin and Iowa. Seemed like it was in that group there. You get a replacement draft every month. If you lost 2 or 3 guys, you'd get them replaced. That's the way it was for quite a while. We seemed to get about 3 or 4 times a week we'd get hit. We probably weren't, I would say maybe a block, sometimes closer than that. Had the hell scared out of me, because I didn't, when I got close to the front lines and heard all that shooting going on and stuff, it was but I was in a lucky position because I was in the combat, but I was back. I guess I want to say I could have been in a worse place than where I was. It's a tough situation to say you're lucky, because I've seen a lot of wounded people. I've seen a lot of people wounded. About every 5th or 6th day, we could go back and take a shower. Put us in different clothes. We never carried any clothes with us. We were always have a pack, and we'd have sea rations and stuff in it. And that was, when we got close to the front lines, you could hear the bullets whizzing, and you knew you were in trouble. We lost a lot of good men. There's always something. Misfires. We had ways to unload them. Misfires, we had ways to unload them and repin them so they wouldn't go off. And then once in a while you'd have a dud only go so far. Our problem was we were using World War II ammo instead of getting new ammo. So you always, they all knew pretty well what to do. We had pits. We made pits. 3 mortars would pit here and a pit here and a pit there. The South Koreans would carry our ammo up the hill. They had them guys doing that. They would carry the ammo up and line around the pits during the day or whenever they could get it. The 3 guns would go maybe 300. One time we really got bombarded with 1,400 rounds. They would come up to the line throw rocks at the people, try to get them to fire so they could see the flash of the gun and then shoot at them, and be dumping mortar shells right along by them. So, well, number one, you want to keep yourself from getting that. And you think about it, you just got to bite your lip and go help and do what you do, and hope to Christ they don't hit you. That's what, by the time I got ready to go home, we were pretty good at the mortars. War is a very cruel thing. Can't imagine it till you go through it. You can't imagine what it's like to have people shooting at you and you're shooting back, and it's just all the time on the lines. I spent 12 months on the line and never got a scratch on me. And I was lucky. Son of a gun. They always had casualties. One gun pit got hit and lost 3 guys in it. So war is war. That's what war is about. One time, and we were loading. We got a lot of casualties, and we were loading guys on the sides of the helicopters, and some legs blowing off, and guys were all, and you can't even take time to think about it. You got to get it done. And that's probably the worst memory. It's hell to send somebody into war. I mean, it's the way the captains are and the lieutenants. They're all that way. They don't want to get these kids killed or nothing, but it's just. But I was lucky. I was a lucky man. It's just hell to see them go through that. I hope you guys never have to do it. I hope you. But if you do it well. My last day in Korea, they put me on a truck and brought me back to Busan, and went aboard ship, and we left the next morning we went to Japan, and they fueled the ship up and put supplies on it, and it took us 19 days to get back. And I'm not sorry I went, and I'm glad I went, and I'm glad I'm back here. And I think it would have had a reason to be there. The way we were over there, like only 12 months, you got adjusted. You could get adjusted, but I think the people in World War II that were over there for 4 years. My 2 brothers were 4 years. They were over there, and I think you would get adjusted real quick if you're only 12 months and not. So somebody had to do it, and I got a great wife and 4 great kids and 10 great grandkids and 10 great grandkids. So it's my life has been pretty good. That's about it. Here I am, 85 years old.
What I've taken away from the Veteran Project is the sense of community it creates and the opportunity to give back to veterans who gave their all. This isn't like any other class where you show up, do the work, and that's it. You got to think about it every day and plan it out just how you want things to go so that it is perfect, because our vets have earned that. The moment you get your vet and watch their interview for the first time, you start to form this connection, and it just gets stronger each time you watch their story and their interview. Like, we might watch it 4 or 5, if not more times throughout the year, and you just become attached to them. Every time I watched Jerry's interview, I got something new out of it every time, and I grew closer to him and his story. This project is more than a class. It's more than us. It's about the vets and their stories and letting them live on through the docks. This project has helped many vets through the years, and it's an amazing feeling to be a part of it. I'm proud to say I'm a part of the Harlem Veterans Project, and to you, Mr. Jerry, I say thank you for allowing me to have the honor to be able to work on your story and preserve it. And thank you for your service, and to all of our vets. Thank you.